Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have the Natasha Denona Mini Sunset palette, and this is supposed to be a companion palette to the larger Sunset palette. I purchased this because my birthday's coming up in a month, and I'm thinking about buying the Natasha Denona Lila palette, and it is a mix of cool tone and warm tones, and I've never tried her formula before, and so I thought for $25, which is what this retails for at Sephora, I could try out her eyeshadows, see how they perform, and make more of an educated decision on whether or not I want to purchase the more expensive palette, because her medium-sized palettes are $129. I wore this all day yesterday. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to try on all these colors for you so you can see how they apply to the eye and make more of an informed decision yourself on whether this palette is something you would be interested in. And as I put on each eyeshadow, I'll discuss that eyeshadow with you and how it performed on the eye yesterday. But right now I want to get going with swatches because I know that you all like to see them and I enjoy doing them. This first shade is Guava, which is a dirty peach matte. This second shade is Apollo, and it's a brick metallic. This third shade is Dirty Mars, and it's a terracotta matte. Fourth shade is Sunbeam, and this is a bronze metallic foil. And then the last shade is Halo, and that is a warm champagne metallic color. When I saw pictures of this, I thought it looked like drugstore packaging. I thought that looks so cheap. But in person, it's not cheap at all. It actually looks like an aesthetically pleasing packaging because it's kind of artistic a little bit. It has that acrylic cover on it, and that is one piece. It does not have a locking mechanism on it, so you just put your fingernail under there and you lift it up. Very easy to open. So this is just one piece, just one smooth piece, and then this is one smooth piece as well. It's non-traditional packaging. I don't own anything like this. I will say you do run the risk when you're traveling with this of something getting jammed up inside there, maybe like an eye pencil, and potentially opening it and causing a mess because it doesn't have a locking mechanism, but it is pretty difficult to get open. So it's pretty sturdy construction, and it's pretty in my opinion. Colors are beautiful. What I like about it is it has light, medium, and dark tones, so you can get a cohesive eye look with this small palette. I have primer on my eye, and I've set my eye with powder as well, so it's easier to blend these out. I'm going to start with the transition shade, and that's called Guava. That is the Dirty Peach matte color. I'm using a light fluffy crease brush, and I am barely dipping into it. So the matte shades, both of these, are extremely stiff in the pan, and there's hardly any kickback on them. They're very buildable, and this is a perfect transition shade for my light skin tone. And this is I would say actually it's more of a medium light tone. It is pressed very hard in the pan, and that means it will last a long time. And it barely takes any pressure at all to pick up product and put it on your eye. And like I always apply my crease shade, I just do a windshield wiper motion, and then I do small circular motions to blend it out. This color blends beautifully. And I wore it all day yesterday, and I had no fading for 12 hours. And just FYI, I'm taking my transition shade pretty high up in my crease. I have hooded eyes, and so by taking it further up in my crease, when I have my eyes open, the color does not disappear. Also, there's no fallout with this color. This color isn't patchy either. Next, I'm going to take Dirty Mars, which is a terracotta matte shade, and it is a very dark tone. It's extremely pigmented, so I would recommend using a light hand when you go in with your fluffy crease brush. And I'm going to take that pretty low into my crease because it is so pigmented. I don't want it to overpower this eye look by taking it too far up my crease. And again, I'm applying that with just a light windshield wiper motion, and then I'll go back in and I will blend it out with small circular motions. This blends extremely well. It is extremely pigmented. It's not patchy. My biggest pet peeve with dark tone shades is if they're patchy, they can completely ruin an eye look because it can be nearly impossible to get them to blend out properly, and it's very noticeable because of their dark tone. This is not patchy at all, which is great. It's a beautiful matte shade. and it looks great for deepening the crease up, especially if you have hooded eyes, because it's going to give you that illusion of having depth to your eyes. Just like Guava, the matte peach shade, this does not have kick up in the pan. It's very firmly pressed. You only need a little bit each time you use it, and I tell you what, it's probably going to last you forever. I wore this for 12 hours yesterday and I saw absolutely no fading of this color. The next shade I'm going to use is this Sunbeam color, and this is a medium bronze metallic foil. I want to foil that color, so I'm going to spray my flat packing brush with some Fix Plus setting spray. And then I'm going to dip into that pan and I'm just going to pack that all over my lids. This has beautiful opaque pigmentation, which you can see for yourself on the screen. It's also a really pretty color. I don't have anything like this in my collection, so I'm excited to add this. It is softer in the pan and it definitely has some kick up if you use it dry. So chances are I'm going to go through this color much faster than I'll go through the matte colors. If you use this color dry, it's not as opaque, obviously, and it does kind of like to blend away. I used it yesterday to deepen up my eye look a little for a transition shade, and I noticed as I was blending it out with my blending brush that I had to keep adding product because it kind of disappeared on me. But after I got several layers of it on, it looked really good. So just be aware that if you use it dry and you really want it to pop, you're going to definitely have to add several layers, especially as you're blending it out. When applied dry, this color also has some fallout, but once it's on the eye, fallout is extremely minimal. So it's just during application that I noticed a little bit of fallout, not anything crazy. So in the marketing literature that I read, the color Sunbeam is supposed to be a foil color. And if you can see it here, it is foiled. I will say that it is not as foiled as when I wet Half Naked for my Naked palette. I would say this is actually more foiled. It's not as foiled as my Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette. I have 4 foils in there. I would say that this is not as foiled as those. It is a little bit more foiled than my BH Cosmetic foil eyes, so it is a little more foiled than this. It doesn't have that high sheen that most of the foils in my collection have, but it's a beautiful color. I don't have anything like it in my collection, so I'm not really going to complain too much. As far as wearability, yesterday this creased pretty much the second I applied it, and it creased right in that fold right there of my eye. So I had to go back in and pack more product on it. So be aware if you have hooded eyes, you may have to pack some product into that fold just to keep it from creasing right away. So that kept it crease free for 2 hours. After 2 hours though, I did see some creasing in that fold. After 8 hours, it got a little bit of a scaly texture to it. If I took my finger, I could flake some of that off. So it's definitely not the best performing foil that I have in my collection by any means. However, when I used it dry, it did not crease, it did not flake, it looked great all day. It did start to fade though at about the 7-hour mark. Not quite as long lasting as I would have wanted it to be. I like for my eyeshadow generally to last about 8 hours, and unfortunately this didn't meet that criteria. But again, I will say if you use this dry, creasing is pretty minimal. Even at that like 12-hour mark, it had a little bit of creasing, but it wasn't anything drastic. The next color I'm going to use in the palette is Halo, and this is a light tone, warm champagne metallic color. It has great color payoff without wetting the brush, and that's actually how I'm going to apply it. I'm just going to use a stiff packing brush. And what I'm going to do, I want to lighten up the inner corner of my eye since that is visible even though I have hooded eyes, and so it just kind of gives more of a illusion that I have a larger lid space than I really do. I'm going to pack that over the Sunbeam color. This color is softer in the pan. It does have a little bit of kick up, and it does have a little bit of fallout upon application, but not. It actually has less fallout on application than Sunbeam does. Because it's softer in the pan, I'm probably going to go through this product faster than I will go through the matte shades, which are packed harder into the pan and have less kick up. And I'm just going to do a little bit of blending those 2 shades together so there's no harsh lines. That shade is really beautiful. I enjoy that shade a lot. The one issue that I have with this color, this halo color, is that throughout the day, I had a whole lot of fallout from it. It pretty much out of all the shimmers, that's the one that had the most fallout throughout the day. So you might consider using a glitter glue before you apply it just to make it stay put all day, and so you have less glitter raining down on your face. This color did start fading after 8 hours. But I didn't notice any creasing at all, even after 12 hours. The last shade I'm going to use is Apollo, and that is a brick metallic shade. It's basically a dark tone. It has gorgeous pigmentation. It's really a pretty color. I'm going to use that to deepen up my V, and I'm just going to use a defining brush to do that. This is also softer in the pan. I would say out of all of the metallic shades, this probably is the least soft though. So this metallic shade will last you the longest. It's extremely pigmented, which you can see here. That's just one application and it shows up really well. But I'm gonna go ahead and deepen it up with another application. It does fade slightly as I'm blending it. I'm gonna take a blending brush and I'm just gonna blend that out so there's no harsh edges. You can see how that fades slightly when blending. This color also does have a little bit of fallout when applied, but once I had it on my eye and blended out, I didn't notice any additional fallout. This color also did not crease at all during the 12-hour wear yesterday, but it did fade slightly. I would say out of all the shimmer colors, it actually faded the least. Last, I'm going to take that dark terracotta matte, which is Dirty Mars, and I'm going to use that to define my lower lash line. I will say that this color, I applied it under my lash line yesterday, and at the 8-hour mark, it was just pretty much gone. And I was having quite a bit of allergies, so it might have been because I had watery eyes and I was rubbing my eyes a little bit more than usual. It didn't disappear or fade in my crease at all, but I did notice that it pretty much completely disappeared underneath my eye. That was a defining brush I used to apply that. I'm going to take a smudger brush and just smudge that out. I'm going to take Halo and I'm going to apply that in my inner tear duct area and then also under my brow bone as a highlight. I'm just going to do that using an accent brush. So that's the final look. I think it's a really pretty sunset look. I guess the question is, from using this palette, would I consider buying the Lila palette? And I think the answer is I'm not 100% sure. The mattes in this are spectacular. They're some of the best mattes I have ever used. I have heard that she has improved her mattes recently, so I don't know that the Lila palette, if the mattes are as good as in this one. If they are, then yeah, I might consider it, because these mattes last all day, apply beautifully, very stiff in the pan, so I know they're gonna last forever. Beautiful color. Amazing. The shimmers, which is where I heard that Natasha Denona really shines, I wasn't quite as impressed with them. They were by no means bad. I would say that used dry, they perform better than my Naked shimmers. They perform better than my Too Faced shimmers, but they don't perform quite as well as my Tarte shimmers, which I was kind of surprised about. Using the foiled shadow wet, it did not perform as well as like my Naked shimmers. I would say it probably was on par with maybe my Too Faced shimmers used wet. Because of that, I'm kind of second guessing whether I really want to spend $129 on her Lila palette or not. I think I would consider it. It's just that I would need to go to Sephora, make sure that I absolutely loved the colors. This is definitely a good palette. The formula is great. It's paraben free, it's not tested on animals, and it's also made in Italy. It's a quality product. I guess I just thought at that price point that it would be like nothing I'd ever tried before. And honestly, the mattes are pretty close to nothing I've ever tried before. They are amazing. But the shimmers, I just thought they were going to be phenomenal. I thought they would be a step above anything I have ever used before, and they're not. So I'm really gonna have to think hard on whether or not I wanna spend that money, or if maybe I wanna try something else. I want to do a higher end palette. Maybe I should try Viseart. If you all have suggestions for a high end palettes, let me know. I also kind of feel like I'm shooting myself in the foot by using high end palettes because I'm afraid I will get addicted to them because the packaging is generally a little bit more luxurious. I'm afraid I'll get addicted to the packaging and that's all I want to use. And the next thing I know, all I'm buying is high end, and I don't want that to happen. I love my mid-range palettes my Tarte palettes, my Naked palettes, my Too Faced palettes. I enjoy all of those, and I would hate to get a high-end palette and kind of have that love of those palettes tainted just because of I want high-end packaging. I've kind of already done that with drugstore because I have some amazing drugstore eyeshadows and I just don't really use them a whole lot because the packaging isn't very luxurious. It doesn't feel like this pampering experience, you know what I mean? I know, I'm kind of a snob. I know, I realize that. I'm aware of my snobbishness. I don't want to become such a snob, though, that I won't even use mid-end. That would be a problem for my bank account. I could get, you know, birthdays, Christmas, I can get a high-end palette if I wanted to, but on a monthly basis, no, it's too expensive. That's pretty much all my thoughts on this palette. If you have any questions, please just put them below in the comment section and I'll be happy to answer them. So I just want to thank you for being here with me today, and I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.